Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. We're waking up with watches and everything is in stock and for sale. So reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning these watches. Today, a mid-summer 2023 debut from Omega. So you've seen the Aqua Terra before, and this is the Aqua Terra 41 in steel, but this is the summer blue dial. Taking a quick look, you can see it's a combination of the teak deck, lateral striations, a blue metallic gradient fade, and then a very subtle sunburst brushed pattern around the dial. So this is absolutely gorgeous, and it is a very different kind of aesthetic. It also gets an exclusive case back. Some might say, oh, I wish I could see the movement, but trust me, these movements are mechanically competent, not necessarily beautiful to the eye. They're great machines, but give me a handsome, exclusive case back only featured on these models, and actually I'll go with that. 1948. Very important to note that 1948 was year one for the Seamaster series, though not the first water-resistant Omega watches. It marked the proliferation of water-resistant cases through the Omega line, so that the watches that were not sports watches gained respectable water resistance, the kind that could withstand rain or while you're washing your hands. And it wasn't until 1957, with the arrival of the Seamaster dive watches, that they became all-out sports watches. So in the early days, the Seamaster was best described as a watch for all occasions. When you are at the restaurant, when you're at the office, on the deck of your yacht, the ballroom of the yacht club, that's what the original Seamaster was. And that's why this Aqua Terra is very much in the tradition of that original 1948 Seamaster. Depending on whether you have a Greek or Roman preference, that's going to be Poseidon or Neptune right there. And then we've got caliber 8900 inside, which means it is the more deluxe of the two Omega automatics. It's the one with 2 barrels, 60-hour reserve, and the independently mobile hour hand. Great looking watch. It is thin by Omega standards, at least by modern Omega standards, mostly due to that solid case back. It's a bit thinner than the standard model, so it's 13.5 millimeters thick. Pop open the clasp, we'll put it on my wrist. Also give you a little bit of a lume shot right there. Note all 3 hands luminescent. And when you put it on the wrist, it's a watch that sits nicely, easily, comfortably, and I would even say that this is one of the easiest large Omega watches to wear. So my wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, no problems whatsoever. I think a wrist as small as 15 centimeters would wear this well. And this really is a great example of a watch that could be your only watch if you just want one really fine watch. Anti-magnetic, shock resistant, water resistant, loomed automatic steel with the super cool coaxial escapement and the master chronometer certification. It is one of the most refined watches you can buy for under $10,000. We're going to jump now to something that is rather exotic in comparison, but we're sticking with the full bracelet sports watch. A blast from the past. In this case, the past is 2006. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Worth Avenue. So launched in 2006, it was part of a series of luxury watches made in micro editions by many brands to commemorate 2 decades of South Florida watch and jewelry superpower, East Coast jewelry. They were a big deal back then, and their flagship store was on Worth Avenue. So this is a watch dedicated to them. They made 100 pieces because it is altogether a very attractive watch. Apart from the commemorative status, the yellow, the black, and the full bracelet really make this pop. It is massive, and I actually took the mass of it, and it was about 250 grams all up. So I'm going to throw this on my wrist, give you a little sense of how it wears, because it's big. And the 42s, like the 44s, Royal Oak Offshores always wearing larger than their rated size, so this feels more like a 43 or a 44. But once again, you could see, though my wrist is not large, this watch does wear pretty well upon it. And even the cuff shot is reasonable. No, it won't fit underneath a tight dress cuff sleeve, but it'll definitely fit underneath a jacket sleeve. This is the kind of thing where if you love the Royal Oak Offshore, but you still have conflicted feelings about giving up a traditional Royal Oak, this is the best way to do it because you get that full integrated bracelet. Most offshores come on straps, meaning you don't get the original integration concept that Gerald Genta penned back in 1972. And when he penned his watch, he did it with a bracelet so that it would be more a piece of jewelry for a man that happened to have a timepiece attached, because Genta always considered himself a jewelry designer first, and that was the keystone for his design of the original Royal Oak. If you get one on a strap, it's still a great watch, but you don't get the integration of the bracelet. Plus, you don't get the fine finish that goes into the bracelet. This bracelet by itself takes 9 to 11 hours to finish, and all of this is hand-finished metal. So not only is the aesthetic more traditional, but the bracelet itself adds tangibly handcrafted quality. It's 100 meters water resistant too, so whereas the Royal Oak on a leather strap can't be taken swimming, the Royal Oak Offshore on the bracelet can easily be taken swimming. No shortage of luminescence, it glows brightly. Then inside we have a JLC 899 movement with the Dubois de Praz vertical clutch chronograph module. This is going to be described as Audemars Piguet 2326 2840. 40-hour power reserve, automatic winding, vertical clutch chrono, stop seconds, quick set date, 5 position adjustment, 4 hertz beat rate, and once again, it is 100 meters water resistant. We're going to shift gears now. Take a look at something that is distinctly more genteel, upscale, even compared to an Audemars Piguet, and very rare. The beautifully refined 2021 10-piece limited edition, all titanium de Bethune DB25 Starry Varius Cadran Jaune. This is, of course, a U.S. retail edition with a fired yellow grade 5 titanium dial. Everything here is made by de Bethune. They make the case, they make the movement, they make the dial. And so you have this gold leaf very subtly representing the Milky Way band with the planets, the celestial bodies, represented by actual inserts of white gold. So you've got the gold leaf and the white gold, and then you've got this lovely dial featuring blue accents and blue titanium cabochon. You can see the depth of the dial with that cambered toroidal track outboard for the minutes and the hours. The name is very discreet. De Bethune never big on branding, though big on design. A lot of folks love de Bethune. They love the technology, the lack of compromise, the patents, the scarcity, but they don't necessarily love the open dials or the floating lugs. Well, this is for that kind of collector. If you're coming from Holy Trinity, Lange, a more conservative independent like Grunefeld or Jaune or Voudelainen, this is going to be for you now. 42 millimeters in diameter in titanium, just over 10 millimeters thick, and about 49 lug to lug. It sits super light on the wrist, given that it is titanium inside and out with sapphire on both sides, and it looks fantastic on this olive hybrid strap. You can see on my wrist it wears beautifully. It will easily slide underneath the cuff, no problems. And if you love the technology of de Bethune, the nice thing is here you get a more traditional shape without any compromise in the aesthetic. It is high impact. De Bethune fires titanium yellow, burgundy, and blue. So both the blue here and the yellow fired, not gold, titanium. Turning it all over now, you can see that this is like a DB28. But whereas the DB28 has all these features on the dial side, when you're looking at the DB25, all of the tech is on the back side. Twin barrels, manual wind, self-adjusting, so they can never be overwound accidentally. You have 1, 2, 3 shock protection springs, patented like the barrels. It's called triple parachute. Not only is it there for durability against damage, it's also there to improve chronometry because there will be less displacement of the balance staff pivot from its cup jewel. The balance is also patented. Titanium wheel, white gold masses. It has profound resistance to magnetism, aerodynamic drag, and temperature change. This is the 2016 patent balance by Denis Flageolet, the watchmaking chief of de Bethune. And by the way, I don't care if you see the serial number, it's no big deal. So the watch is a fantastic example of a timepiece that represents discretion. So you've got a very exuberant but still traditional watch on the dial side, and then on the back you have triple parachute, patented balance, twin barrels, a deltoid style barrel bridge that some people compare to a Star Trek Fleet Command badge. Others will say, well, it's more of a leaf or a symbol of upward progress. And Denis Flageolet officially endorses all of these, but if you want to know for sure, it was a leaf that he found hiking outside his home. In terms of finish, as good as it gets in the industry. You can see solarization on the barrel covers, micro beveling on the ratchet wheel teeth, very difficult to do, anglage on both the barrel bridge cover and the barrel bridge below that. So we have double stacked anglage, Côte de Bethune, so they're mirrored from side to side, which is to say the shaded part of the stripe is facing outward on both sides. They reverse the wheel that lays down the stripes. The bridge itself, a la Grubel 4C is fully rounded and mirror polished, very difficult to do. There is a silicone escape wheel of Denis Flageolet's own design for efficiency's sake, and then there's a hairspring also patented. The curve is the patent. It's a conventional hairspring, or at least it's born that way. It's cut into two pieces. The outer curve is shaped, and then they're clamped by micro-clamp back together. The advantage is it's flat like a flat hairspring, but it will breathe concentrically in any position with respect to gravity, like an overcoil. A really cool watch. And at de Bethune, buckles are designed to match cases. So here we have, or I should say they're designed to match lugs. So here we have conventional fixed lugs and a conventional pin buckle. Deeply impressive stuff. And again, only 10 made, and yeah, this one's number 3. 3 is a lucky number. Okay, we're not done with de Bethune, because if you want to get wet with your ultra high-end luxury watch, well, you don't have a whole lot of options from FP Journe, Voudelainen, or Philippe Dufour, but de Bethune gives you those options. This is a very early version of the DB22 Power Reserve, known as the Preserie. It is a 5-piece limited edition made in 2006 at the very inception of production. It's white gold, and it represents the quirky early DB20 series watches, which had this distinctive broad shingle-like shape. And remember what I said about the buckles matching the lugs of de Bethune watches? Sure enough, we have here a buckle that is designed to match the lug profile. Most brands are not going to spend extra to get a bespoke design like this for a buckle. They'll have one buckle for every watch. At de Bethune, they go that extra mile, and it's exquisite. Now, taking a close look, you can see that we have both media blast and polish on this case, and you can see how they're used to good effect for contrast. De Bethune's earliest DB20 series watches were 100 meters water resistant, then later 200, and so this one with screw down crown is quite safe for swimming. It's a big watch at 48 millimeters, but some of the other measurements matter. It's just over 11 millimeters thick and 53 millimeters lug to lug, so yes, it's a 48, but hold your fire. It doesn't wear quite as gargantuan as you might expect, and in fact, the further you get from the watch and the more you see of my arm, the more you realize that you don't need the wrist of the Hulk to wear this watch. It's big, sure, but it's purposefully big. Let me show you some of the details. So de Bethune, of course, making cases, dials, and movements, and they have an exclusive guilloche here that they call microlight. So realizing that a Breguet-style rosette would not be appropriate here, Denis Flageolet had the titanium center dial blued to almost a slate blue, like a matte slate blue-gray, and then turned to create the microlight. And to be perfectly fair, it was done in the opposite order. It was turned and then fired. We have a power reserve indicator up at the top of the dial. It will turn all black when fully wound. Yes, we have a 6-day power reserve, and we have a few treats out back. This is the 5-piece Preserie, and then you can see, once again, we have that distinctive balance, which likely came in for an upgrade at some point during its service life, because this watch predates that balance design. Oftentimes, Denis Flageolet will upgrade parts if he has successor components available. This is the DB 2024 movement, twin barrels, automatic winding, and not only do we have triple pair chute shock protection on the balance, but we have 4 cantilever springs, each with jewels to prevent friction when the rotor comes in contact with the springs. And so the idea here is we have the largest possible lever arm out to the edge of this 30 millimeter movement for more efficient winding, but we want it turning, we don't want it torquing side to side. So what we're doing here is we're making it as wide as possible for efficient and vigorous winding, and then placing braces over its center to prevent the ball bearing from taking the stress of the extended lever arm. And that's what these shock protection systems are there for. This was patented in 2006. You can see there's extravagant finish here. We have satination, we have some mirror beveling on the shock protection bridge, or I should say the shock protection springs, which are also a bridge. We have media blast, we have snailing across the surfaces, and again, a 4 hertz beat rate, a very modern, shock-resistant, water-resistant watch, and these are extremely scarce. There's only a few dozen of any given DB20 early series was made, but this one, a 5-piece Preserie, almost like a subscription series Journe, very collectible. By the way, this is gray gold. It's the kind of white gold that never needs to be rhodium plated. I have to admit that I like IWC quite a bit, and the nice thing about IWC is it can be anything you want it to be. if you want it to be a pilot watch brand, it can be a pilot watch brand, and they have no shortage of past and present references. If you want it to be a pocket watch brand, well, they continued to make them right up to the cusp of the 20th century. And if you want it to be a dress watch brand, you have almost too many choices, as both the Portofinos and the Portuguesers fit that description. So the Portugueser with a Tourbillon is an extraordinary sight, and that's exactly what we have right here. A 2010 launch, 500 pieces in rose gold, 43.1 millimeters. This is the IWC Portugueser Tourbillon F.A. Jones. So the Portugueser Tourbillon F.A. Jones features the signature of the American-born founder of IWC, F.A. Jones, back in 1868. The French-speaking watchmaking regions where most of the watchmaking infrastructure was located, they were not interested in adopting American methods. But in the east and in the northeast of the country, where they speak German and Schaffhausen, there was more of an open-minded willingness to try. And so IWC, International Watch Company, was founded in German-speaking Switzerland by an American. So what we have here is a combination of a flying tourbillon, which is a tourbillon that has no upper bridge to block your view, and then a Portugueser. The first Portugueser came out in 1939, and it was the result of a request from IWC's Portuguese importers to produce a wristwatch that was as accurate as a pocket watch. At the time, the only way to do that was to build a custom wristwatch case around a pocket watch movement, which meant a bigger watch, and it became the first purpose-built oversized watch. Not a pocket watch conversion, but designed from the beginning as a dress timepiece to be worn on the wrist. So we have a lot of those heritage elements from 1939. Leaf hands, Arabic numerals, chemin de fer, or railroad track minutes, small seconds, integrated lug profile. If you've ever noticed, the Patek 96 and the original Portugueser, though vastly different in scale, are similar in design. It's because they hail from the same form follows function era of wristwatch craft. Concave bezel profile and a lovely rose gold inner bezel with satin and beveling framing that tourbillon. So a flying tourbillon, a type of tourbillon invented by Alfred Hellwig in the 1920s in Glashütte, Germany. It is a tourbillon that has a bottom pivot but no top pivot. So you have, at least in the modern era, an unobstructed view from the top. Hellwig had technical reasons for doing this, but it's very aesthetically pleasing today. Can you hear it? Tourbillon regulators tend to be very chatty, and this one is. 54-hour manual wind power reserve, beautifully executed on the back, 3/4 bridge, golden chaton cups for the pivot jewels, this lovely batwing-like bridge under the tourbillon with a gold inset medallion, 5-position chronometer-style adjustment, and an enormous movement, 98900, that fills this case back. The movement is bigger than a Rolex Datejust. And it's not that hard to wear. You may think, oh, 43.1, I can't wear that, but I'm not a big guy, and I sure can. In fact, it wears nicely. It's a Portugueser. It's not supposed to be small. Every once in a while, you see an article about a Portugueser on Hodinkee, and all of the emulators who are trying to be Hodinkee material down in the comment thread, they're like, oh, if only this were 37 millimeters. No, I'm sorry. It's a Portugueser. It's supposed to be huge, and it's supposed to look huge. And this one does. The key is that elegance is in proportions, not size. And there is a difference. This watch has elegance. Okay, now we're going to go full ballistic. We've actually got a second tourbillon for you. This one, a 2010 limited edition of 150 pieces in scratch-resistant ceramic from Panerai. This is the Radiomir Tourbillon GMT Ceramica Lo Scienziato, PAM 350. It's big. 48 millimeters in ceramic. It's hugely scratch resistant, and it's what you would expect from a Panerai, being both highly water resistant at 100 meters and very well loomed, which you can see with ease, including subdials, including the second time zone. And yes, it is a tourbillon, and it is a GMT. It is also 3 mainspring barrels, a power reserve of 6 days with a power reserve indicator on the case back. Now, taking a quick look, there's a few things going on here that you might find amusing. First, AM/PM indication for the second time zone. Second, if you want to use that second time zone, you can, but if you want to just cover it up and clean up the dial, you can superimpose the hands. You'll know whether that reference time is day or night based on this AM/PM indicator. Now we have this little double register. The one on the outside moving more slowly is your running seconds. The one on the inside represents the speed of the tourbillon, which turns in 30-second circuits. So some people call this the rotisserie chicken tourbillon, and you could see why, but it makes one spin or one full rotation every 30 seconds. It is supremely loud, and you can see individual numbering on it. Also, that the finishing on the tourbillon carriage is at a level you will rarely ever see on a Panerai watch. Another thing that's worth mentioning, but just think about how this is working now. It's rotating the tourbillon in a plane that is in opposition to gravity. So if you have a tourbillon, and I'm not beating up on IWC here, but this is a very traditional tourbillon designed to sit in one orientation in your pocket on a pocket watch. The idea being that this orientation allows it to cancel out the effect of gravity. The problem is on your desk at night, it's going to be like this, which means it's effectively doing nothing to even out the effect of gravity on the regulator, whereas here you could see that the rotation is in opposition to gravity, as each side of the tourbillon carriage will alternate between being the high side and the low side, which allows this, when it's sitting static at night, to actively cancel out the effects of gravity. Turning everything over, you can see it's impressive on the back. It's also a little bit weird, and I say that because for some reason the power reserve indicator, and only the indicator, not its scale, is luminescent. But by day, you can see that it is a 6-day power reserve, that this is the P2005/S. The 2005 is the tourbillon, S is for skelette, and you can see the entire train. And again, the decoration and the execution here is a very different standard than you may expect on a conventional Panerai. And like every Panerai watch, this 150-piece limited edition is a strap monster. So if you want to swap straps, easy to do. These two screws, and then these two screws release the strap, so it pulls straight out. You don't have to cut it off. It's not like a historic 3646 combat watch. Now on the wrist it's big, but again, big is the look here. You don't wear a 48mm Panerai because you want to be discreet. And it's stark, it's big, it's bold, and it's something that Panerai rarely is. A true honest-to-God Audemars Piguet Renault Papy and Richard Mille rival. Deeply impressive stuff. So we finish with a big piece, or at least what I consider to be the biggest piece of today's show. So taking a quick look at a model that took the better part of a decade of product development. Here it is. This is a watch that simply spoils you for features. Officially, the Master Compressor Extreme Lab 2. It's big, 46.8mm in sapphire, titanium, and ceramic bezel. But wait, there's more. We have a lever on the side that allows you to hack and stop the movement, because the crown is a push-button, multi-function crown. So you can see that I have my indicator for the functions, the GMT, setting, winding. The watch features a secondary time zone, which we will demonstrate now. See, I'm able to set the local time independently, and then there's that little stub hand right there. And then that little stub hand is connected to this 24-hour dial down at the bottom. Push the crown again. Now we're in setting mode. Now everything moves in sync, just like that. The watch features an extravagant and exquisite digital chronograph jumping minutes display. So you have chronograph seconds, chronograph minutes up to 60 with digital jumping, and then this 24-hour dial right here is a 24-hour chronograph scale. So you've got the hacking lever, because remember, this crown doesn't pull out. You've got the multifunction crown, which operates by virtue of its own column wheel. You've got a chronograph that has a combination of column wheel and vertical clutch. You've got the digital minutes display, the 24-hour chronograph register with small seconds or running seconds in there. You have shields over the chronograph pushers to protect them, and a ceramic shoulder around the crown. And then I'll demonstrate to you how this system works as you jump the minute register. And again, it reads up to 60, which is spectacular. We'll also demonstrate the radial power reserve, which runs from one side to the other. So here we are. And there we go. So now the power reserve indicator, see how it starts here and it ends here? It starts red with the twin barrels empty. Now, as I wind the watch, you can see that the power reserve scale goes from red to white as I wind it up to 65 hours of power reserve. The watch features ratcheting lugs with variable geometry and a quick release system on the back that employs a shutter, allowing you to quickly and easily pop the strap out and replace it with the black and red leather strap that comes with the watch. And it is a beautiful strap. The watch is 100 meters water resistant. Look at this, it even has a metric on the strap so you can remember which hole you normally use. So you have that quick release system right there, and you have the world's most elaborate and expensive pin buckle. First of all, there's a long setting and a short setting as a micro adjust, but then it also allows you to quick release it and pop it off the strap. So as you're strapping the watch with the other strap option, you can also move the pin buckle over to the other strap. It is profoundly shock resistant with inner shock resistance mechanisms to protect the 569-piece movement, which has been through the Master 1000 Hours control, and in a rarity for JLC watches, features a full balance bridge rather than a single-sided balance cock. It's free-sprung with a full bridge. Now the watch, I would describe it as neither light nor heavy. I'm going to put it on my wrist now and demonstrate it to you. Very easy to get the strap back in place. But first, let me show you the lume shot. As you can see, no shortage of lume and two-tone, but only in the dark. Now on the wrist, the watch wears well. I could absolutely wear this. The fun thing is when you're wearing this watch, you're thinking, what would Richard Mille charge for a watch with this many functions, shock resistance, a 569-piece 70-jewel movement, and billing among the top complicated sports watches ever made? I think RM would charge a cool $1 million for this. JLC originally charged around $50 when this was on the market, and I believe now pre-owned they're even less. But what a machine and what an opportunity. And yeah, here it is. It's fitting on my wrist. It is fitting on my wrist without complaint. I don't feel like it's too big, not for a sports watch certainly. And then think about everything that sits inside this case in that movement. This watch could not have been any smaller. If you love this watch or any you just saw, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.